And before we kick off the news this week, a quick plug from me, about something that I made. Yes, here it is. This is the 2023 calendar. Jump on the link below and grab yourself a copy of this. We send them all over the world, full of lots of lovely photographs of mine, of which you have been able to join me in across so many episodes in the last year. Let's get to the news. G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope that you are super well. Today I'm bringing you the news in photography and filmmaking from around the world. Some of my favourite picks. And first we're starting with news from ON1. Yes indeed, they appear to be, besides Nikon, the first RAW converter to be able to handle the HE and the HE star files. That's the high efficiency and high efficiency star files. This is super exciting news. We are now 10 months since the official launch of the Z9, and it would appear in other ancillary news to this note that stocks are now starting to free up a little bit in certain parts of the world. It does sound like Z9s will start to be on shelves anytime soon. And the fact that ON1 now supports that file type does certainly put the fire under everybody else. When are we going to see Adobe do it? And from my personal perspective, I can't wait for Capture One to also support high efficiency and high efficiency star files. I did some testing right back at the start when those files arrived. The difference between the non-HE and HE files is absolutely minor. I couldn't see the difference. So there's a real chance that I may, once Capture One supports this file type, just use high efficiency. And if memory serves me correctly, that means my file sizes will drop by 40%. That's massive when you're talking about terabytes of storage. That's a real space saver as well as a cost saver. So this is great news, seeing it's coming from one of these third-party software makers. I hope the next version of Capture One, which I believe is version 23 coming next month, hopefully they will follow suit and we will have the HE RAW support. And I can tell you from somebody who has already downloaded it that yes, indeed, it works. This is super exciting for Nikon users, Nikon Z9 users. And let's face it, I would expect this standard, this format, to come to newer cameras as they start to roll out over time. Who knows when, but surely it can't be long before we get another camera at the higher end of the market. The last camera and the only camera that we've had this year from Nikon so far is the Z30. And that's more down the entry-level end of the spectrum. And please excuse my strange voice. I've had a rather full-on respiratory infection for the last week or so now. It's all happening for me, so my apologies for that. Maybe I sound just an extra little bit deeper with my radio voice. Let's move on now from Rode. Rode are teasing us that they have a new microphone and they're calling all podcasters and gamers and so on to come and see the launch of the Rode X. This is the teaser. This will be coming out in the next week or so. Rode, an Australian company, they're world famous for making fantastic microphones, moved into headphones, and they also make other peripherals as well, like the wireless microphone unit, the Rode Go and the Rode Go 2 that we are using right now. Now, Rode, if you're listening to this, come on, let's chat. I like using your stuff. I have a lot of it. I'd like to review the Rode X. Next, if we are to believe the rumours, the Sony A7R version 5, can you believe it, in 10 years, 5 iterations, give or take. First one 2013. If this camera arrives when they say it's going to, 2022, 10 years, less than 10 years between those 5 models. So if rumours are correct, it's coming sometime soon before the end of this year. And indeed, we do have some basic specs, like it's pretty much going to have the same megapixels. Beyond that, it's going to have an increased processor. It's going to be able to shoot at 8K. It might have more stabilization. And of course, we would expect it to have Sony's new menu system. This is all leaks. How do we know if any of it's true? Look, I kind of feel like it's true because we haven't had a lot of Sony cameras this year, certainly at that high end of the alpha range. And this camera has been rumored for so long. They're the two reasons that I do think it's coming soon. Plus, the people on Sony Alpha Rumors, which is where I got this from, thank you very much, they seem to be very certain that it's coming soon. Now, the most interesting thing to me about this rumor is that the megapixel count is staying pretty much the same as the A7R IV. This to me is absolutely fantastic news, and it says to me that the camera industry is absolutely realizing that 50 or 60 megapixels is roughly where the 35mm processor kind of reaches its max when you're talking about all the parts of the puzzle. This includes what lenses can do, what dynamic range can do, what high ISO can do, and perhaps also what they want to do from a processing perspective. Also, we've got to think about the fact that whatever sensor size you use, it affects what you can do in video. So there are a lot of things to think about when you are designing and releasing a certain sensor size. But my perspective, good news. I feel like the industry is probably not going to push far beyond 50 or 60 megapixels unless we get some major technological breakthrough, which I haven't heard about recently. Sony A7R V, rumored to be coming soon. We have the new vlog camera ZV-1F from Sony. It has a fixed 20mm equivalent lens on it. It has a Type 1 size sensor, so it's even smaller than APS-C. It has contrast detection focus only, and in stills, it only shoots JPEG, which means it does not shoot RAW. It also has no IBIS or VR, only electronic stabilization with a large crop. It only weighs 256 grams or 0.56 of a pound. There's no EVF. There is a micro HDMI. It has a front-facing flippy screen, and it does have a telly lamp, which is great so you can see when you're recording. There is an internal mic. You can put on a dead cat via the hot shoe. And it also has the capacity to plug in an external mic, but there is no headphone jack. It shoots up to 4K, 24p and 30p and 1080 at 120 frames. The sensor appears to be slow. Rolling shutter is a little bit of an issue, but the price point, well, in US dollars, it is $499 US. New from Sony, here it is. Now, pretty much from my perspective, the Fujifilm X-T5, it's pretty much known that it's coming. I think that's a fait accompli. I think in the last FujiCon, they might have confirmed that it was coming as well. It could be coming as soon as a month or two from now. And basically, what it sounds like, looking at the rumored specs, that it's going to be very similar to the XH2. Not the XH2S, but the XH2. Now, the XH2 is a 40 megapixel sensor crammed into APS-C. Now, based on what we were just talking about with Sony, where 60 megapixels is perhaps absolutely the sweet spot of where you want to push these things, a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor is equivalent to an 80 megapixel full-size sensor, a 35mm sensor. Look, I haven't used an XH2 yet, so I can't speak from personal experience on how well it is going, dynamic range, and all the other aspects that we care about when we're cramming more and more photo sites into the same sized area. But I have said for a long time now, there has to be a limit. There has to be a limit based on the current technologies that everybody's using, and this is CMOS, backside illuminated, and in some cases stacked, and in some cases not stacked sensors. The X-T5 is considered, I suppose, probably the most popular / flagship of that retro styled looking camera from Fuji. We believe it's coming with 40 megapixels. I'm really interested to see how that plays out over the next few months when we see more results from the XH2 as well as the X-T5. But it is coming soon, and what's amazing to me is you're going to be able to get an extremely affordable 40 megapixel camera. We don't know the pricing yet, but the XH2 is even cheaper than the X-H2S. Thus, this will make the X-T5 a super affordable 40 megapixel camera that can shoot 8K. You can see where it fits in from a kind of specs and power perspective. How will it go from an actual dynamic range, high ISO perspective? Time will tell. Canon have announced that they are going to be building a new lithography factory all of their own. They're going to start that in the not too distant future, and it should take something like 3 or 4 years to complete. Canon will install new manufacturing facilities, strengthen manufacturing capacity for semiconductor lithography systems. This was announced in Tokyo on October 6th this year. Canon Inc. announced today the company will install new manufacturing facilities at its Utsunomiya office, which produces semiconductor lithography systems and other devices. The new facilities are scheduled to commence operation in the first half of 2025. The Canon Group, under its Phase 6 of its Excellent Global Corporation Plan, series of 5-year management plans, aims to accelerate our corporate portfolio transformation by improving productivity and creating new business. As part of these efforts, Canon is working to expand its semiconductor lithography systems business, one of the company's primary strategic businesses. The semiconductor market is expected to see continued growth amid the transition towards a smart society, led by such advancements as the LOT and 5G. Canon is working to strengthen its position in the fields of products, business, and support while aiming to increase its market share of semiconductor lithography systems. Going forward, Canon is responding to forecasted growth in demand in the mid and long term by strengthening its manufacturing capabilities through installation of new facilities at the company's office. The facility will be approximately 70,000 square meters. It will be a capital investment of 38 billion yen. That's the cost of construction. Construction will start in the second half of 2023 and it will be finished by the first half of 2025. The scope of that site will be R&D, manufacture, and services related to semiconductor systems. And there's a bit of fun to close out this episode. We believe a Nikon lens was sold for the highest price ever of $182,000 US. And this lens was a 58mm 1.0. This lens was sold at auction at the Wetzlar camera auction houses in Germany just in this last week. This lens is so rare that it doesn't have the traditional serial number. What it does have is, as the auction house says, probably a combination of the information for its focal length and its aperture, as well as the consecutive number 1 for the very first and also quite likely last in this series. Serial number 580101. The auction house says the 58mm 1.2 lens was originally designed for cathode ray tube photography and has an engraved manufacturing scale instead of the traditional distance scale. It is estimated to have been produced in 1970. The lens was originally estimated to be worth between 15 and 20,000 euros. In the end, two parties drove the price to the whopping number of 182,000 US, equivalent because it was in euros. And it's believed that this is the highest price ever achieved for a Nikon lens at auction. Well, there you go, everybody. That's the news for this week. It has been so good to see you. Let me know in the comments below if any or all of these things are exciting to you. If you could, would you buy yourself a 58mm 1.0 with the serial number of 01 for 182,000 US? Now that's exciting. Of course, we have the beautiful Noct that now exists for the Z range, and it is a 0.95 and considerably cheaper. I think it's something like 6 or 7 or maybe 8,000 US dollars plus taxes. I've always wanted to get myself one of those, but I think I will be looking on the second-hand market. Fantastic to see you. If this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and please like. And please keep on making art. Bye for now. Now before